course. So first of all, who are you and why did you fall in love with Padel?
So Brian Flinn, I'm the Chief Operating Officer at Pro Padel League. And I've had this privilege of working across sports and entertainment for 30 years and a chance to build teams and brands and businesses and have been afforded great opportunities and really worked in entrepreneurial and innovative environments, but at big brands, the New York Knicks, the National Basketball Association, WWE. And again, wonderful privileges and opportunities, but my experience was never tied to a personal passion. Right? I've been a racket sports enthusiast since I was a young kid, tennis, and then I played a bit of pickleball during COVID like so many others. And during that gameplay, I discovered Padel. Walked into a building and I was, what is this? And so fell in love with the sport and really got lucky, quite frankly, that I've now been able to take my 30 years of experience running businesses and building brands and connect it with something that I'm passionate about. And so it's just a wonderful opportunity to build something from the ground up and be passionate about it.
Okay, and how did you jump into PPL? What makes you leave everything behind?
Yeah,
jump into this.
It's the chance to build something special, right? And so again, building businesses at big brands is one thing. Building something from scratch is another. And if you look at the opportunity for the sport in the U.S., but even globally, we're at a point now where you can feel the surge happening at a grassroots level. It's time to start professionalizing the business models to sort of capitalize on that passion. Create opportunities for the best players in the world to perform on the highest stages, and that's what we're doing at the Pro Padel League. It's a different business model than what you've seen in racket sports, and we think the players benefit from that. We think the fans benefit from that. We think our team owners benefit from that, and so sort of collectively, we're really excited about what we're building.
This is the third year of the PPL. For Padel fans in the U.S., we are always excited to get into what's new this year.
Right.
So for those that are new into the competition, what's going on this year?
Yeah, I think there are three things that I would point to that are new for this year. One would be our format, right? So our format's changed, and where our regular season events have a men's division and a women's division, and each of those teams are competing within those divisions to make it to what we call podium day, where you have a third place match and a championship match. Where your divisional teams finish lead to the number of points that your overall team earns throughout the regular season. And that will list the regular season standings and determine who makes our Cities Cup Championship in October. So a little bit different of a format than years past, but we think it's a nice blend of divisional matchups and that team environment to sort of bring everybody together. Two, I would say the schedule's changed. We're going international for the first time, so we're super excited. Carefully curated selection of cities, obviously in Miami to kick things off, the center of Padel in the U.S., right? Then we head to Spain, I would say the center of Padel in the world right now, and then to Mexico, the birthplace of Padel. So, really thoughtful curation of the locations that we're going to. And then we'll sprinkle in an all-star festival, Pro-Am festival in the Hamptons over Labor Day weekend, and then bring everything together for our championships in New York in October.
Which is a great highlight. I think they enjoyed a lot, the players,
yes,
New York last year.
Exactly. And then the third thing I would say is new is the team that we're putting together at the league office. Mike Dorfman, our CEO, went out and raised some capital so he could build some infrastructure around our teams and our league. And that's where I've been given this wonderful opportunity to join the team and help build something. And it's exciting because if you look at experience of building teams, building brands, and building businesses, that's exactly what we have to do here. And we'll build our team, our league team, over time. Right now, we're focused on building brand, and obviously, what will come of that is building a business around this.
But watching you work these days, you're the COO, but to me, it's super operational. Like you're rolling your sleeves, you're barely eating these days, you're on the court all the time and like taking notes of every detail that's going on here.
Yeah.
So how is it working for you? Because it's a kind of a startup world right now.
It is. It's a startup world, and so you have to be willing, no matter what your title is. Quite frankly, titles don't really matter. But whatever your role is, you have to be willing to do that and then so much more in the startup environment. And luckily, I'm wired that way. I like getting into the weeds. Love to sit back and think big picture. This week, we're in the weeds, and the role is everything from the governance of our teams and our games and our players to the selling of tickets and the customer experience, right? And those are the most two important constituents, our players and our fans. And so again, I use the word privilege a lot because we're lucky to be in this position, and we have a responsibility to build this infrastructure for those two groups. Mm-hmm. That's what drives sports, right? Your players and your fans. And if you're not working for them, then you're probably in the wrong business.
Yeah, I think you're doing a great job on YouTube. I'm watching it. I'm listening to the comments in the Telegram groups and people from Spain. They're at night watching it, all that. So from the outside, looks great. There's something that is part of the transmedia world, like how to connect from this stop until San Sebastian, until Mexico, the Hampton. So how that narrative is going to work in order to keep people engaged until the end of the year?
It's a great question, and the event schedule, that sort of neutral site where 10 teams come, and then you wait a couple of weeks, and now you would say there may be a gap. Doesn't feel like there's much of a gap to me. I'll be in San Sebastian before I know it, and then I'll be in Guadalajara before I know it. But your point's valid that there is that gap, and how do we fill that? We have invested as the league heavily in the development of social media content. Engaging with fans 24/7 across platforms is critical to our success, particularly as, you could call it a startup, but an emerging sports property. And traditionally, the league has done a great job at events of pushing out massive amounts of engaging content. What we're now doing with the investments that we made are gathering that content when we've got all of our players together, so we can continue to tell stories day by day by day leading up to San Sebastian, and then following San Sebastian day by day by day leading up to Guadalajara. So we're excited about the resources that we've added around us. It's not just a couple of people in the league office. We've got a team of people now, and it's about content creation and storytelling, and we've got to engage fans on a 24/7 basis, and we're now prepared to do that.
So when people pick a team, how does it work? Both for the fans, like I know they think they like Miami a lot because Tapia is there, but it's his second year there, and there are some that has transferred. So how it works?
Yeah, so operationally, and things can continue to evolve. It's not just the way it works today. Doesn't mean as an emerging sports league you're going to always be so rigid in your thinking. But in years past, we've had a draft. And this past year, the decision was made that teams could protect up to 4 players on their roster. And so the teams made those decisions in the offseason about what players they would protect, maximum of 4. Every other player became a free agent, and teams had the ability then to go sign players that were unprotected. Our teams also have the ability to trade players, interestingly enough, in the offseason. And this is unique to our sport. It's really exciting, actually, to have a male player traded for a female player. It really speaks to what we're building here, and the way that we balance the contributions of men and women. It's really the modern day sports league, right? And we don't really, quite frankly, emphasize they're athletes, they're teams, they're players, and we bring everybody together, and everyone's on equal footing in our sports league, which I love about that. And that's why you're seeing the best men in the world being traded for the best women in the world. Because there's some gameplay from the general managers and coaches. If you're going to earn points in the men's division and the women's division to get to a total for your team, how do you want to stack that lineup? Do you want to go all in on one division? Do you want to try to balance the 2 divisions? There's some strategy there, and that's what our teams are playing with. So it's as great as the play is on the court. We've got some interesting things going in the front offices of our teams as they think about how they want to strategize over the course of the season. So we're pretty happy with the format now, but in the offseason, we'll evaluate everything and see where we go from there.
Oh, but this is a personal point, but I think it's very smart because female sports are growing, like the WNBA, like female soccer in the US. So it's becoming more and more interesting. And in Padel, women's is followed always almost as much as men's.
Yeah.
And here there's another competition, which is the Reserve Cup, purely American, that only does men.
Yeah.
So having the PPL to support both at the same level and equally, I think is important for the future of the sport.
Yeah. So here's my perspective on it. And so you're talking to a dad of two young girls, 15 and soon to be 11. So uber passionate about opportunities for women because it's personal to me. You're also talking to somebody who worked at the New York Knicks when we launched the WNBA and the New York Liberty, right? Yeah. And then I worked for a dozen years at the NBA office, and my job wasn't specific to the NBA. It was the NBA, it was the WNBA, and it was the G League. Well, back then it was called the NBDL. So I've always had responsibilities for building women's sports, and give credit to then Commissioner David Stern, right? He had a vision for what women's sports could be before anybody else. The world of tennis and golf should get some credit too, but the structure and the belief, undeniable belief that we were marching forward and never stopping, came from my experience at the NBA. When I got to WWE, the female characters, right, athletes, but they play characters on television. The way that our women were positioned at WWE were tertiary characters at the time. And you were seeing the things like, Serena Williams in tennis and Ronda Rousey in MMA. It's like, no, we have to build our women up. And so big believer in that. I spent a few years investing in sports and entertainment, making investments in women's sports. Pretty good decision right now. So when I was learning about what Pro Padel League was doing and their belief in how, women's sports is a part of, I'm not even sure I like women's sport. It's sports, right? We got to grow beyond, women's sports versus men's sport. And that's what we're doing here. This is sports. We have both men and women in our league. It's exciting, it's modern, it's progressive. Maybe we'll get some credit for that, over time when we tell our story about what we're building here.
Yeah, I think the Padel supporters appreciate it in general. So what are your growth plans and expectations?
Yeah, and so there's a vision for what the Pro Padel League can become, and I think when you're looking at a league and a team versus team competition, it's easy to go look forward and say, yeah, someday, New York will be visiting Miami in a matchup, and so that's a vision. I'm not quite sure ready to say that's the North Star, right? Because we're going to continue to build and evolve, analyze, adjust, and see if that actually, is the format that we get to. We're really comfortable right now at the stage that we're at of having neutral sites and having 10 teams come together to compete and showcase, the best players in the world. But I would say, yeah, there's a vision down the road to look like some of the biggest and best sports leagues around the world, where one team visits another in a matchup filled with, in a stadium filled with fans cheering for their local supporters. We also, have some work to do, particularly in the U.S., of building that passion in the local markets.
Yeah, I think talking about local market, there's a very special player who is Britney Daven. She's born in Miami, and she's playing. So she's been in Cancun, not Cancun, in Stingrays
San Diego,
last year and this year.
Yep.
And I think she's somehow an icon of the PPL for the U.S. people.
Yeah, I agree.
So
she's
how special is she?
Yeah, she's a great representative of our brand. She obviously can play the game at an elite level, right? That matters. And she knows the game, but she's player, and this is not specific to Brittany. Our players understand the partnership, right? We're all in this together. It's not the league, and the teams, and it's all of us together. We're one, and if we execute that well and build brands together, we're going to be successful. And Brittany will be a part of that. But there's a deep roster of players who have the same belief that she does in what we're building, and we're fortunate to have that.
What's going to happen right after this stop? Focusing on San Sebastian.
Yeah.
But what are your learnings or challenges? What do you like to you didn't know before, and after these days, okay, next time we need to do this, or
Yeah,
I think it's a challenge because
gosh.
you don't know what you're gonna find in Spain either.
Yeah. I mean, look, there's a laundry list of things that we can improve on, but that's every event at every sports league or every business, right? Can put out a product or put on an experience and say there's things that we can improve upon. And if you're not doing that and evolving and advancing, you're not growing your business. So yeah, laundry list of things that we'll do different and we'll improve upon. The good news is that the fans that have come through in droves, right? Sellout opening night, will be sold out tonight. They have told us that this was a wonderful experience. And so any of the things on my list of 1,000 that I'd like to tweak, the good news is fans haven't seen, right? Their experience has been terrific. What I think, and you ask about challenges, I actually think of them as opportunities. And the thing that we need to focus most on from my belief is there is, and you know this as a paddle fan, there's a surge going on right now, and whether it's, it's been going on in Spain for quite some time, but throughout Europe, the Middle East, South America, and here in the States. And our opportunity is to take that passion for the sport at a grassroots participatory level and flip it into passion for the best players in the world competing on. Because I promise you, when I play against really good players, right, the gap, right, between some of the best recreational players, the best players in the U.S. and the best players in the world. And so coming to an event like this and seeing these elite athletes compete at this level is mind-blowing. We need to get the people who are passionate about the participatory aspect of the sport to shift to the sit back and be amazed by what's happening on the court. And that will come, right? Because participation breeds passion. And there's a lifestyle around this sport. It's not just playing the game. It's the health and wellness. It's the music. It's the fashion. It's the culinary aspect of it, right? There's an entire lifestyle, which we love. Like, we can tap into that. There's also then, okay, sit back and appreciate, these great players, these fantastic players, and what they're doing on a court. And that's the opportunity that's sitting in front of us. And there's a million things that you can do to fuel that. That's what our job is every day.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.